Purusha Purushayama Prakriti Achagunatsaha Sarvate Varnamasnopi Nasa Vayo Vayajati.
Ya evam vete purusham prakritim च गुणैः सह सर्वधा वर्तमानोऽपि न स भूयो abhijayate.
Very good.
Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gunasaha sarvatha vartamanopi na sa bhuyo abhijayate.
Very nice. That's also here.
Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gunais saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhuyo bhijayate.
Yaha, anyone who, evam, thus, veti, understands, purusham, the living entity, prakritim, the material nature, chaha, and gunai, the modes of material nature, saha, with, sarvatha, in all ways, vartamana, being situated, api, in spite of, na, never, saha, he, bhuyaha, again, abhijayate, takes his birth. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present situation, present position. Please chant. One who understands this philosophy
One who understands this philosophy
concerning material nature,
concerning material nature,
the living entity,
the living entity,
and the interaction of the modes of nature,
and the interaction of the mode of the nature,
is sure to attain liberation.
is sure to attain liberation.
He will not take birth here again,
He will not take birth here again,
regardless of his present position.
regardless of his present position.
Thank you. Perfect. Clear understanding of material nature, the super soul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to the material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor, in association with authorities, saintly persons and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness. By understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead, then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Om Agnanatimindasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshulmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sijita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishapano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataru Bhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanevayo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Words again. Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasha bhuyo abhijayate. One who understands the material, one who understands the philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Yeah. So this is a wonderful verse summarizing this section. We started from verse 30, basically explaining about Purusha, Prakriti, the interaction of the two, like the modes of material nature. And then the original Purusha, which is a super soul, right? So that was explained from verse 20 to 23, right? About Purusha, Prakriti, the interaction of the modes of material nature, and the original Purusha, which is the super soul. And then this verse summarizes, what is the use of getting that knowledge? That one who gets that knowledge will be liberated, right? Will not take birth again, will not be forced. No, this is nice word to use. Will not be forced again into this material nature, right? He'll naturally get the spiritual nature. Will not be forced again into this material nature, right? We are forced again in this material nature because we come under the influence of these modes of material nature. The influence of the modes of material nature mainly comprises of mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and the permutation and combination of these modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. One takes these 8.4 million different bodies, right? 8.4 million different bodies, and tries to dominate, right, the material nature, tries to exploit the material nature and enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. As a result, he comes under the influence of the material nature, right? He comes under the influence of the material nature, where, right in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna explains about it. Trivi gunamai bhavai ebim sarvam idam jagatam mohitam nabi janati mamebhyam paramavayam. That these three modes of material nature I have created. And though I have created it, I am inexhaustible. I don't come under the influence of it. But mohitam nabi janati. Everybody else is bewildered by this mohitam, by these three modes of material nature. And they come under the influence of it. Right? And they think themselves as the enjoyer. And when the material senses are satisfied, they feel happy. When the material senses are not satisfied, they feel distressed. So this happiness and distress, right? Matra sparsha to kauntiya sitasna sukadakadaha. Agama apaino anityam tam titiksha bharataha. Right, in the second chapter, 14th verse, the Lord explains this. They are like summer and winter seasons. They arise due to sense perception. By the senses being attached, right? By the senses being attached to this material nature. And they come under the influence of it, right? But one who knows, who has this knowledge of the material nature, right? The living entity, the interactions of the two, and the super soul, who is the original Purusha, no, is in the state of liberation. He is not forced back into these 8.4 million different species. Just like in the 7th chapter, after this Tribi Gunamai Bharai, Lord is mentioning, Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Mam Durutaya. Right. Mam eva prapadante maya mitam tarantite. Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Mam Durutaya. This crossing over this mode of nature is very, very difficult. To overcome that is very difficult. But one who takes shelter of me, for him, it is like water filled in the hoof of a calf, footprint of a calf. Right, footprint, hoof of the calf. It's easily he can overcome. Otherwise, it's like a sansara dava nalalida loka. Right? It's like a big ocean. Very difficult to overcome. Years and years we try to swim through this ocean, and most of the time we are trying to swim through this ocean, but our anchor is tied to the shore. As a result, no matter what, how much we swim, we are not able to proceed forward. Right? No matter what. Because our anchor is tied to the ocean. Like the senses are tied to the sense objects. When the senses are tied to the sense objects and it's not attracted towards the Supreme Lord, it is like having the anchor tied to the ocean, to the shore of the ocean. And in that state, it's very, very difficult to cross this ocean. Right. So the senses needs to be spiritualized. And how can the senses be spiritualized? By utilizing it in the service of the Lord. Right? By having, how can one acquire this knowledge? By understanding it from Shastra, by understanding it from the spiritual master, by understanding it from various other sadhus. By that, one gets that understanding of how to overcome this material nature. Right? One gets the understanding of how to overcome this material nature. Otherwise, it's constantly tied. Constantly tied. Very difficult to overcome. Right.
पवन सारे वो निकलो सीधा.
Yes, वो पवन निकला. Hari Hari. Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very difficult to overcome. Right. Very, very difficult to overcome. So the senses, how do we utilize the senses in the practical terms? Like the eyes can be utilized by seeing the Lord. Right? Can be utilized by seeing the Lord. How do we see the Lord? The Lord so mercifully descends in the form of his Archa Vigraha, in the deity form. Right. And it's such a beautiful form that your senses becomes attracted, like a person coming to the temple. Even if he does not know about Krishna, immediately gets attracted. Oh, who is this personality? Right? He completely becomes attracted. Yeah. So in that way, the eyes are utilized in the service of the Lord. Now one can say that, oh, for that I have to go to the temple. But Srila Prabhupada encourages us, okay, have this Archa Vigraha is so merciful that you can bring them right at your home. Right? And daily try to worship them. Whether you get 5 minutes or 10 minutes. No, you don't have to follow the full 9 yards which the temple does. 7 bogas, 6 aartis a day, changing the cloth in the morning, changing the cloth in the evening, and offering food in the these 6 different times. No. You can do what you can. Home deity worship. In that way, our senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Right? It's engaged in the service of the Lord. And slowly, it gives us the opportunity to feel that, oh, we are not, instead of serving our senses, we start serving the Supreme Lord. Rishikesha, Rishikena, Sevana Bhakti Uttamam. Right? Rishikesha is the name of Krishna. He's master of, he's the master of all senses. Right? Master of all the senses. Right. So that's how the eyes can be utilized in the service of the Lord. The ears can be utilized in the service of the Lord by hearing the sound vibration. Shravanam, by hearing the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord. So that's why this Navda Bhakti is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Right? Hearing and chanting the names of the Lord, especially in this age, is very much recommended. Right? Hariname, Hariname, Harinamelu, Kevalam, Kalau Nyasiva, 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 Gatiranyata. In this age, otherwise there is no process of, other process of deliverance. Except chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. Because while chanting the holy name, your tongue is utilized in the service of the Lord. Your ear is utilized in the service of the Lord. And your mind is also utilized in the service of the Lord. That when you hear the names of the Lord, then your mind also gets utilized. That you try to focus on that hearing aspect of hearing the name of the Lord. And why hearing the name of the Lord? Right? There is no difference between the name and the Lord himself. Right? There's no difference. Abhinatam nama namina. Nama chintamani Krishna Chaitanya rasa vigraha. Right? There's no difference between the name and the Lord. Right? So when we chant, purely the names of the Lord. Right? It's like the form of the Lord starts dancing on the tongue of the chanter. Right? And ultimately, that chanting Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that dirt which is accumulated over so many years, gets cleared and cleared and cleared just by this cleansing process of chanting. Right. Similarly, the tongue, Vacho Vegam, Manasokrodha Vegam, can be utilized in chanting the name of the Lord, can be utilized in tasting Krishna Prasad, which is offered to the Lord. The hands can be utilized in making garlands for the Lord, making all these wonderful bhoga preparations for the Lord. The legs are utilized to walk to the Lord's temple, right? Or to where the Lord is, or in the home, the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. You utilize the leg to perform different activities for the Lord. Mind can be utilized. Vishnu Smaranam, right? Always meditating on the Lord. Right? So in that way, that knowledge becomes Vijnana. It's not Jnana. It can be Vijnana where we understand the difference between the soul, the living entity, and the super soul, the localized aspect of the Supreme Lord, and the material nature, Prakriti, right? And the modes of material nature, right? Where the living entity, when it comes under the modes of material nature, he is engaged in this body. And when he leaves his body, right, if he is spiritualized, he can get liberated from the body. Liberation means he gives up his current body. He gives up bodily platform itself, he gives up material bodies. Otherwise, he goes into this birth, death, birth, death, birth, death cycle. Right? Yeah. Okay, are there any discussions or questions on this subject matter? There's this beautiful form of Shia Ram here.
Madhupati Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you mentioned about 8.4 yonis
Yeah.
that we go. That's only on a Bhumi, or it's in all 14 planetary system, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's there in 14th planetary system.
Could be anywhere in 14 planetary system,
Yeah.
right? Not in this Earth planet.
Well, on Earth planet also, there's 8.4 million different living entities, yes.
Okay.
Right. And then it describes in detail, so how many are like, there's the words, let me get that words. Somebody remembers that words, Stavara, Jala Lakshani, Stavara, Jala. Yeah. Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavara is from the Padma Purana. It says Jalaja Navalakshani, Stavara Laksha Vimshati, Krimayo Rudra Sankhya. There are Navalakshani, 900,000 species of life within the water. Right. 900 species of life in the water. Jalaja Nava Lakshani, Stavara Lakshavimshati, Stavara Lakshavimshati, 100 thousand more of Stavara, means steady, like different trees, plants, and all those things. Right. And then this verse goes to 8.4 million living entities. And when the water dries up, as soon as the land comes out, the trees and plants begin to grow. 2 million types of trees and plants. Right. In this way, there are 8.4 million species of life. There are reptiles, so many types of reptiles. And then among the human beings, there are 400,000. And Srila Prabhupada explains that 400,000 classification does not mean the population of the human beings, but 400,000 different kinds of consciousness in human beings. And based on that consciousness levels, they get different kinds of bodies among the human beings. Is that all right, Jayaprakash Babu?
Yeah, so okay, so so 8.4 million could be on Earth planet, could be on heavenly planet, it could be
Yeah, it's there
Patal
everywhere.
Anywhere?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's not just accumulation that certain living entities will exist only here and not in the heavenly planets. So it will be there everywhere in the material world. Right? In the material world, which is the 14 planetary systems, they are there. Yeah? Like in the heavenly planet also, there are trees, pious trees. Right?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? Really, no other discussion? Jalaja Namalakshani Stavara Lakshya Vimshati Krimayo Rudra Sankhya Pakshinam Dasalakshanam Trimisha Lakshani Pasava Chatulakshani. Yeah. So, no, that's this. I will post it. No, it's a nice verse. We should memorize this. It's a yeah. Jalaja Namalakshani. Any other discussion? Amritananda Prabhu, or somebody can also share the realization. Amritananda Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept
Yari.
Krishna Prabhupada. Just a little down. Prabhu, we hear Sant Tukaram and others, some others, they went back to the spiritual world in the same body, material body. So how does that work? That it's even matter becomes spiritualized fully.
Yeah. In the during the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe in the 7th chapter or 8th chapter, it's mentioned about when the Pandavas, in the purpose explaining the Pandavas, they went in their own same bodies in the spiritual world. Right? The Pandavas, when their complete body is spiritualized, that's the same body, you can go back to the spiritual world.
Mm.
Right? So it's mentioned that now the references in the it's right there in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, probably 7th or 8th chapter. After prayers of Mother Kunti, and then it's mentioned of the Pandavas returning back where it's mentioned. The Pandavas went. Similarly, I have not heard about Sant Tukaram going in the same body, but yeah, it's possible.
Anyaneshwar.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, it may be folk legend, but he left in his own body. The other thing is, Prabhu, now in the material world, we have this body which has blood, pus, and other things,
Yeah.
organs.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get to spiritual world, the body is also spiritual.
Yeah.
So spirit means fully conscious.
Yes.
So what is that consciousness? Is it separate from the jiva which is occupying a spiritual body?
No, it's the same. Jiva. Now, Jiva gets a form, our real form. Right? And in that real form, before Jiva was being engaged into these different apartments of different living entities. But now it is in its real constitutional form, right? In which he is completely satisfied in serving the Lord, right? So for us to comprehend it, it's difficult because we are engaged. But when we are fully cognizant of our real form, right? So that form we serve the Supreme Lord.
Does that spiritual form also have Paramatma accompanying the Jiva, or it's only in the material world Paramatma accompanies Jiva?
Jiva is always accompanied by Paramatma.
Even in spiritual world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The soul and the super soul. But the jiva is spiritualized completely. Jiva is spiritual, but the body is completely spiritualized, or whatever body it takes is completely spiritualized. And then when the Lord can expand in so many different ways, the jiva in the spiritual form can also expand. Right? It can also expand. Limited expansions, but it can also expand. Just like the Pandavas in the spiritual realm, they expand in different ways. They serve the Supreme Lord. Right? They may also desire, I also want to participate in the Lord's pastime here, or I also want to participate in the Lord's pastime and see Lord's pastime, like the reference of they came in the form of trees at the banks of Krishna Kund, Sham Kund, right? And Raj, they're in the form of trees. So that means the living entity pure servants of the Supreme Lord can also expand. By the empowerment of the Supreme Lord. Yeah? Good. Very nice. It seems logged out. Okay. Are there any other discussion? Haribo.
Ambasanand Prabhu's connection dropped, so he's going to join again, Prabhu.
Okay, no problem. Anybody would like to share the realization? This month is, in one way, very, very auspicious month, Shravan month. And we see so many pastimes, so many Lord's pastimes happen in this particular month. Lord appears in the month of Shravan, right? And when the Lord appears before the Lord, his elder brother Balaram, his first expansion also appears, right? So this month we can completely engage as much as we can in the service of the Lord. We can do it every month, every day, but especially this month. You know, sometimes we get a bonus, so this is a bonus month. Right? Lord appears as Lord Balaram. We'll be celebrating that on August 11th. He appears himself as Purna Purushottam Krishna on August 19th. Okay. And then subsequent festivities around it. August 19, then 20, Prabhupada appearance day, the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. Right? Also celebrated as Nandotsav. We had Nanda Bhavan. When the news comes that Mother Jasoda, after many, many years, she didn't have any offspring. She gave birth to a child. Right? Krishna. Nanda Gera Nanda Bhayo Jai Kanihalal Ki. Right. That's celebrated as Nandotsav, August 20. On August 11th, we also celebrate it as the anniversary day of Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar, our main deities, in which, you know, when we celebrate the anniversary, the celebration of the anniversary of Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, the anniversary of Gaunita, everything is included. Right. So that's going to be on August 11th. A lot of festivities. Yeah. So please engage this month as much service as you can. Hear more about Krishna Katha. No. That will be so verifying. Yep. And engage. your sense is more in the service of the Lord. Yep. Okay. Amritana Babu, thank you for coming, joining back. You had any discussion further?
No, Prabhu. That's what I wanted to clarify about the body in the spiritual world. Thanks.
Thank you. Shimheshwar Prabhu, back to you if there is no discussions.
Jai, Hare Krishna Guruji. Thank you so much. Wonderful sector.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Your voice is
Lots of
breaking.
points that you made today about how we can engage ourselves and come to the real worship and your body and senses. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's the only way that we can purify ourselves. Know that we have senses, mind, words, body. Thank you for this. So anything, anybody else has anything to add? Any comments, reflections, concerns?
Shimeshwar Prabhu, last couple of days you have problem with your voice.
Yeah, I know I'm actually on driving. So yeah, thank you so much, dear devotees. See if there are any questions or anything additional, anything to add, any other reflections. Okay, if nothing, then let's conclude in today's section. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarupasya kripā sindhubhyo patitānam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Vrinda Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaudi Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Gauri Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gauri Hari.
Hari Hari. Thank you, everybody.